find ourselves at risk of being overwhelmed and overtaken by the overpowering inclinations of structural bias that poison the very roots of the liberty tree, that tree that is supposed to give life to the fruits of freedom, that tree that is supposed to sustain our nation. We stand here poised in confidence that victory is assured. We will find a way past racial intolerance. We'll find a way of persisting towards a just and fair society. We hold these truths that persistence will help us find a way out. At this very hour, votes are being counted and cast. In the midst of all of it, we commit ourselves to making democracy work. We stand here asking ourselves, where do we go from here, chaos or community? We can be a better city, we can be a better nation, but only if we fight. For these reasons, we call for the return of a Boston elected school committee.
Yes.
We call on closing the racial inequality gap.
Yes.
We call on creating a city that commits itself to reparations.
Yes.
A city that apologizes for its
Yes.
complicity in the slave trade. We
Yes.
call on a city committed to fairness and justice. We expect the rights of all. We expect the deliverance of rights for all, white, black, Asian, Latinx, gay, straight, bi. We are all precious in God's sight.
Yes.
We cannot disconnect our efforts to change the name of Faneuil Hall from a more comprehensive task of addressing systemic violence. Symbolic violence reflects pervasive structural violence. By changing the name of Faneuil Hall, Mayor Walsh, we can seek to pull together, the city to pull together all of us in a conversation of deep dialogue about race. By changing the name of Faneuil Hall, we can encourage comprehensive change that makes right the wrongs in terms of systemic racism. By changing the name of Faneuil Hall, we can bring about true justice in Boston that avoids racial scapegoating and kicking the can down the road with political tactics and political maneuvering. In the words of Dr. King, I know you're asking today, how long will it take? Somebody is asking, how long will prejudice blind the visions of men and women, darken their understanding, and drive bright-eyed wisdom from her sacred throne? Somebody's asking, when will wounded justice lying prostrate on the street be lifted from the dust of shame to reign supreme among the children of men? Someone's asking, when will the radiant star of hope be plunged against the nocturnal bosom of this lonely night, plucked away from weary souls to chains of fear and the manacles of death? How long will justice be crucified and truth buried? I come to say to you this evening, brothers and sisters, it will not be long.
Come on now.
It will not be long, because truth crushed to earth will rise again.
Yeah.
How long? Not long, Boston, because no lie can live forever. How long? Not long, Boston, because ye shall reap what you sow. How long? Not long, because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. The hour is late, brothers and sisters, but joy comes in the morning.
Come on now.
The hour is late, but the weak shall be made strong, and the crooked places made straight. The hour is late, but we can win. So we stand here tonight with our heads high. We can win. We stand knowing that there is a bright side somewhere we can win. We stand here knowing that we can foster a greater democracy. We can foster a society where racism is put down. Victory is assured, brothers and sisters. Victory is assured.
Yes.
Victory is assured.
Yes.
Victory is assured.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Victory is assured. And if you want more of that, there's an event coming up on Saturday at Faneuil Hall as well. So we have 2 more speakers and a closing for you, and then we can all go home and take a nice little bath and warm up. So up next we have Ashan, who is a local activist from Dorchester.
Oh my gosh, it's cold. Alright, okay, cool. I'm gonna be very short and sweet because there is one more speaker before me, after me. So I want to first and foremost thank FFC, Sunrise Boston, Strike Boston, and many other organizations that came together to put this event together. So give you guys a round of applause for yourself for doing that. All of us standing here today have witnessed our country crumble right before our eyes. And we have seen firsthand how racism, white supremacy, and all the way have changed and have affected our many people standing here today. Our power of our vote is one of the most lethal weapons given to us. But with direct action, we can continue to be out here, fight for the cause, and continue to speak on the issues that matter to us most. Since the founding of the United States, time and time again, we felt our voices lost. We felt our voices linger. And somehow, we have found ourselves out here once again. Let me tell you something. As a first-time voter, I truly believe that we are powerful, but that we are powerful in many.
That's right. That's right.
I believe that many polished, fancy, master programs, politicians are disconnected from the people standing right here today. Now is not the time to stop. Now is not the time to take a break because it's cold, and I know we're all cold out here, and we're going to go and take a nice warm bath. Now is the time to be out here in these streets, fighting for the change, fighting for the things that we believe in, because we are the future. Whether Trump or Biden is in office by the end of this week, we still have a lot of work to do. And we couldn't be standing out here in the code if it wasn't work to be done. Our system has failed us time and time again, and it's now time that we reclaim what was lost in our democracy and that we continue to speak out on every injustice. Now, I know some of us at times have been discouraged, figuring where and how and what our roles are in this revolution, and figuring where we stand. It's simple. You are all bringing individuality into this collective. There are photographers capturing the motions. There are organizers organizing these protests. And there then are us, the people, coming out and speaking out. Whether it's right here, or holding a sign, or a little piggy that says all cops are bastards. That is truly our roles as people. We are the change that we're seeking. I'm asking that even no matter what, we will continue to fight. We will continue to monitor and protest, because that is our power. And that is far more powerful than it is in elected office right now. We are our most lethal weapons. I said that our vote is one of the most lethal weapons. Our voice is our lethal weapon. We have more power than they led us to believe. We have the power to change the world, but only if we come together and work as a collective. This fight is far from over, and I'm looking forward to what becomes of this collective. In closing, I'd like to say, again, regardless of the results following this election, that we will not give up. We will not be silenced, because our voices together are powerful as one. So repeat after me. Together we stand. Divided we fall. Together we stand. Divided we fall. Thank you so much, and I want to thank the organizations for doing this and putting this together, so thank you.
Thank you, Ashawn. So we have one more speaker left for you today before a little closing from Freedom Fighters. So up next we have Awa from Solidarity North Shore.
Hello, everyone. How are you feeling tonight? Alright, give me a second. I just need to pull this up. So my name is Awa Hamidi Tabay, and I organize with Solidarity North Shore and FFC. America this year has been draped with several problems that Black America has borne the brunt of. The two largest that have loomed over us this year is the unfamiliar pandemic of COVID-19 and the all too familiar institution of white supremacy. Both have been adamantly killing us. America has outlined loud and clear: Black America is expendable. We've watched this year the bodies of Black America fall and fall as our government and our non-Black peers cast us and the values of our lives aside. We are bundles of labor to them until we are all used up, drained, and exhausted. Our only right is the right to death, dying at the hands of police officers, of COVID-19, and of any system that upholds white supremacy. We are bodies forged only to build empires for white America to reign in. They've stolen and appropriated our cultures, ripped apart our lands, our populations, created dysphoria of people who cannot trace back their ancestors, and those who cannot reconnect with every part of traditions repressed from them. The minute white supremacists laid eyes on Black Africans, they tied us down to capitalism, bringing in massive amounts of wealth that has molded towns, rural areas, and cities such as the one we stand in today. Embraced by wealth built from the blood of indigenous people and Black Africans. The endless, inhumane pursuit of wealth at the expense of life has defined the Black experience ever since colonizers first stepped foot on African land and began their journey of exploitation that has shaped the inequities we see today. After centuries of slavery that has dispersed and enslaved our people, tearing us apart to build institutions of white supremacy that have killed and forced us to revolt against. After centuries of colonialism that grew the wealth of Western countries from the theft of our lands, our cultures, and our people, we chose community over revenge and rebuilt and reclaimed our lands and identities. But white America, boiled with anger, astonished at the beauty and resiliency that connects us all of the African diaspora, opposed, fearing what could strong Black communities mean for the reign of white supremacy. So they strategized wars and injected us with diseases, using our bodies as experiments for their cruelty, growing epidemics across African nations, and bombing and attacking Black-led communities with government-provided drugs and brutal police forces that largely incarcerated Black Americans. They imprisoned our freedom fighters that stood for Black liberation, forcing them to flee in nations they cannot now leave or die at the hands of Western violence, killing our Black American revolutionaries fighting for liberation in the state and Black Africans fighting for independence in their nations. Even today, they threaten Black lives that speak up at risk of denial of every opportunity, censoring our presence in the workforce, online, and education because of our advocacy for Black liberation. They've bombed our countries, our cities, our neighborhoods, our churches, and our homes, ensuring that Black people internationally will never feel security, safety, and protection as long as white supremacy and capitalism remains in power. The Black community in its existence will always pose threat to both, for we will always inevitably fight against what can't and will never work for us. They watched George Floyd's life leave his body, his knees pressing on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, Breonna Taylor's life ripped from her in her sleep, Tony McDade shot to death after being accused of a crime he didn't commit, Jonathan Price shot to death their death all built on the terrorist policing and carceral system, brutalizing and stealing Black and brown bodies every day, and yet still they will not stand in opposition. America will not say it, but they fear Black America. They fear what our opposition means. They fear that when we will revolt, we will not feel ties to a nation that has stolen so much from us and our indigenous brothers and sisters, and we will burn it all if we must. Ironically, the fall of America will be the people that built it, descendants of Black Africans who may not know their last names, the traditions of their tribes, or have felt the violence that colonialism and slavery posed on their ancestors, but who regardless have been passed down the same consistent trait of resiliency, forced from their ancestors surviving the cruelty of white supremacy and capitalism. capitalism. That trait that will eventually lead to a revolution that the founders of this empire should have foreseen the minute they changed our people to boats and forced them to build their wealth. It could only be fitting that the descendants of those people be the downfall of their supremacy. They think we cannot see how the same racial capitalism that created slavery and colonialism lies at the root of the inequities faced by Black America today. Black Americans have been pushed in segregated, disinvested neighborhoods due to racial capitalism, that which has fundamentally led to disproportionate impacts Black Americans face due to COVID-19. We make up the largest portion of the nationwide homeless population at 40% and the highest unemployment rate at 6.3% from the most available data, despite only representing 13% of the total population in the United States. We are one of the most vulnerable communities in the entire country. Even in the state that we are now, Black people have the highest rate of homelessness at 125 people experiencing homelessness per 10,000 people in the general population and the highest unemployment rate at 3.4%. Yet still, we continue to be denied PPE, hazard pay, release from prisons, jails, and detention centers, free and accessible testing, and rent forgiveness and housing. The government continues to deny this, knowing that without it, America, and primarily Black America, will die, and has died, with Black Americans continuing to experience the highest COVID-19 mortality rates nationwide at 3.4 times as high as every other group. With these extreme rates that demonstrate the disadvantage the Black community is in, it is clear the conditions that push us closer to lives in which our last resorts are illegal activities the state will in turn prosecute us for are products of the system itself, because they'd rather do anything than address the circumstances that have driven us to our actions. They think we cannot see how tomorrow will be the election, and regardless of the outcome, Black America will continue to die, murdered at the hands of whichever imperial power they put in office tomorrow. Biden is the lesser of two evils, an easier enemy to defeat, but an enemy that needs to be defeated nonetheless. Today and tomorrow, whether you casted your vote or not, you must make a vow to fight. Fight in the name of Black liberation and put yourselves in front of Black and brown bodies for the sake of it. If you leave the streets, if you walk out and celebrate the win of Biden, you have put Black and brown lives on death row. You have left us to die, and regardless of whether you voted or not, that will never be forgiven. The electoral system born out of the death of Indigenous and Black people are institutions they've promised us are built in our interests, despite them actively working against us, maintained to deny us our right to life. In Black communities, people are suffering from asthma and respiratory disease. We have been fighting for the right to breathe for generations. It is ironic that the chants you're hearing in our protests are "I can't breathe," that those are the words that escape Black America before we die. The truth is, capitalism over community. Breathing is not in the interest of capitalism. Living is not in the interest of capitalism. It is clear that the conditions that push us closer to lives in which our last resorts are illegal activities are created by the state, because it is easier to lock up Black America and keep our communities weak. I promise that when they are fucking over the Black community, that they've fucked all of us over. It is in the vested interest of all of you to pursue Black liberation by any means necessary. So again, what could strong Black communities mean for the reign of white supremacy? I ask you this, what could they do? Not just for Black America, but for every disenfranchised worker exploited by the system. Our struggle united, bound by the ropes of capitalism that keep us routinely forced to produce and produce, leaving us too tired to revolt and fight back. What could strong Black communities mean for us all? Better yet, what could they create in place? I tell you that whatever world these strong communities that we are currently working towards will build, they will be made of the independence, freedom, and liberation that Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Tony McDade, Jonathan Price, and thousands of Black names that did not ask to be in this speech, that did not deserve to be in this speech, with lives and families beyond the meaning the speech deserve. And all of Black America, all of the African diaspora, all of Indigenous communities who have been stolen so much from deserve. Of the independence, freedom, and liberation they made the mistake of ever denying us.
Hey folks, thank you so much for coming out. Just before we really close and disperse, I'm Collier Shields from Freedom Fighters Coalition in Sunrise, Boston. So wonderful to see all these amazing faces out here. So a few logistical things. First of all, we're doing a canned goods drive going on right down there. There's some cans, so anything that's non-perishable and easy to donate, get it over there. We're also doing it tomorrow at our event in Nubian Square at 6 p.m. our march for liberation, because there is no liberation without revolution. And no matter who is president or who is claiming to be president tomorrow at 6 p.m., we will be there standing for Black lives, standing for climate justice, standing for economic justice, standing for our indigenous brothers and sisters, because it does not matter who is in charge of racist settler colonial America. We don't care. We want liberation for everybody. We want the abolition of oppressive systems. And so, come join us, Nubian Square, Delhi Square Plaza, at 6 p.m. Join Freedom Fighters Coalition. Join Socialist Alternative. Join many other amazing organizations in the area fighting for liberation, and stand up for liberation and for revolution. So join us there, bring canned goods, and then also follow us, Freedom Fighters Coalition, at FFC of 2020 on Instagram for more information and amazing actions. Follow Sunrise Boston at Sunrise Movement MVMT Boston. I'm pretty sure that's right. Socialist Alternative. Follow all of them, and you'll stay in the loop on amazing actions that are going on. Dorchester Art Projects. We're not using their speakers today, we'll be using them tomorrow, and this is their mic stand and mic. They're amazing, their store is open, they have hours on their Instagram, go look them up. Their hoodies are soft and amazing and wonderful, and you should all own them if you can, and support them because they are doing incredible things for local art.
If you're cold and not wearing a Dap hoodie, that's your fault!
Exactly.
Volunteer there too! Yeah!
So thank you all for coming out, and before we close for real and disperse, I just want everybody to take a moment and look around. Look at the faces, look at the people, say hi, little wave, give an elbow bump. Now, those faces, these people, these organizations, that's why we're here. That's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for liberation because those are the people that we love. That's who we need to protect and who we are out here to protect. This community, this future, the future that you've heard all these incredible orgs and speakers talk about, that's what we're fighting for. So when it feels like it just might be a little too much, when it feels like there's no light in the darkness, remember this night. Remember the words you heard, the organizations that are here fighting every day for you and the ones that you love. Remember the future that we laid out and the people that gathered to hear that. That's why we're here. Many thanks, everybody. Make sure to come out tomorrow, 11/4, 6 p.m., Nubian Square, for liberation. And get home safely. This is an official call for dispersal. Thank you so much.